Welcome back to Timeless Messages from the I Ching. This is Stephen. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're doing well. So the question for today's video is, what are the most important messages for the viewers at the time they find this video? Most important messages for the viewers at the time they find this video. And whether that's in 2 weeks, 2 days, 10 months, 20 years, it doesn't matter. Your divine inner light, your wise inner self has brought you here to help you with these messages in your particular situation that you find yourself in. And the 2 hexagrams that came through, the abysmal water, number 29, and limitation, number 60, are the archetypes that came through today. The abysmal water. This hexagram consists of a doubling of the trigram can. It is one of the 8 hexagrams in which doubling occurs. The trigram can means a plunging in. A yang line has plunged in between 2 yin lines and is closed in by them like water in a ravine. So you can see both the upper and lower trigrams. There's a masculine yang line in between 2 broken yin lines. So this pictures water that's enclosed in a ravine, like a river or a stream. The trigram can is also the middle sun, also relates in feng shui to the direction of the north. The receptive has obtained the middle line of the creative, and thus can develops. As an image, it represents water, the water that comes from above and is in motion on earth and in streams and rivers, giving rise to all life on earth. So we're thinking of water in motion in streams and rivers. In humanity's world, can represents the heart, the soul that is locked up within the body, in the principle of light that is enclosed in the dark, that is reason. The name of the hexagram, because the trigram is doubled, has the additional meaning repetition of danger. Thus, the hexagram is intended to designate an objective situation to which you must become accustomed, not a subjective attitude. For danger that is the cause of a subjective attitude means either foolishness, foolhardiness, or guile. Definition of guile is deception, slyness, cunning. So here too, a ravine is used to symbolize danger. It is a situation in which a person is in the same pass as the water in a ravine. So it's like you're in a ravine, you're the water in a ravine. And like the water, you can escape if you behave correctly. The judgment, the abysmal repeated. If you are sincere, you have success in your heart, and whatever you do succeeds. Through repetition of danger, we grow accustomed to it. Water sets the example for the right conduct under such circumstances. Water flows on, and it merely fills up all the places through which it flows. Water does not shrink from any dangerous spot, nor from any plunge, like a waterfall. Water falls without any fear. And nothing can make water lose its essential nature. It stays true to itself always. It remains true to itself under all circumstances and conditions. Likewise, if a person is sincere when confronted with difficulties, the heart can penetrate the meaning of the situation. So if you are sincere when you're confronted with problems and difficulties, your heart will penetrate to the meaning of the situation and guide you. For once we have gained an inner mastery of a problem, it will come about naturally that the action we take will succeed. In danger, all that counts is really carrying out all that has to be done, being thorough, being attentive to the details, and going forward in order not to perish through tarrying in the danger. Tarrying would be staying longer than intended, or you're delaying leaving a place, staying too long essentially. So in danger, all that counts is really carrying out all that has to be done, being thorough, being attentive to the details, and moving forward in order not to perish by staying too long in the danger. Properly properly used, danger can have an important meaning as a protective measure. So heaven has its perilous height, protecting it against every attempt at invasion. And earth has its mountains and bodies of water that separate countries by their dangers. Thus also rulers make use of danger to protect themselves against attacks from without and against turmoil within. The image. Water flows on uninterruptedly and reaches its goal. The image of the abysmal repeated. Thus the superior person walks in lasting virtue and carries on the business of teaching. Water reaches its goal by flowing continually. Water fills up every depression before it flows onward. A superior person follows water's example. The superior person is concerned that goodness should be an established attribute of their character, rather than an accidental or isolated occurrence. So likewise in teaching others, everything depends upon consistency, for it is only through repetition that the pupil makes the material their own. So repetition is very important in teaching others. So the abysmal water has a lot of information in terms of flowing onward, not losing your essential nature, being true to yourself, just like water. Water does not shrink or fear any movement. It moves through everything, takes the shape of everything. And in terms of a waterfall, water does not have any fear of plunging downward. And nothing can make water lose its essential nature. So in entering into the superior personality within you, you mimic water by flowing continually, filling up everything before moving on. And also, your focus is that goodness and virtue should be an established part of your character rather than an isolated or an accidental experience. And if you are teaching and instructing others, everything depends upon your consistency, because the pupil will make the material their own through repetition. So 6 in the first position. 6 at the beginning means repetition of the abysmal. And the abyss, one falls into a pit, misfortune. By growing used to what is dangerous, a person can easily allow danger to become part of themselves. This person is familiar with danger and grows used to evil. With this, the person has lost the right way, and misfortune is the natural result. So you may find yourself in a dangerous situation, or you may be confronted with some problems. And if you can behave like water, for it sets the example for the right conduct under such circumstances, by flowing on and on and on, and merely filling up all the places through which it flows, then you can essentially get through this danger, get through this problem, because you will surmount it in this flowing motion. And if you're sincere when you're confronted with problems and difficulties, your heart will penetrate the meaning of the particular situation that you find yourself in, and you will essentially free yourself from this problem. You will move onward from this problem, just like water flowing onward. So the important thing in the 6 in the first place is that if you've become accustomed to something that is dangerous, it can become a part of you, and you become so familiar with it and grow so used to it that you won't realize that it's a part of your being or a part of your experience. And this can be dangerous because you may lose the right path, the right way of progress, and misfortune can be the natural result. So it's important for you to be reflective and ask yourself, what have I perhaps grown used to that is dangerous or evil or a problem that I should not allow in my own life? Pay attention to these areas and see if you can identify something that maybe has become a part of you that should not really be a part of you, something that is problematic or dangerous or evil. So moving on to the second hexagram, limitation, number 60. Here we have in limitation the abysmal water on the top trigram and the joyous lake on the bottom trigram. A lake occupies a limited space. We're thinking of the lower trigram here. The lake occupies a limited space, a finite amount of water. When more water comes into the lake, it overflows. So here we have the abysmal water above, which is water that's retained in the clouds up in the sky. The image shows water below and water above, with the firmament or the sky between them as a limit. So we have the clouds which retain water, and at times the rain falls and water comes down into the lake and increases it, and so it may overflow. The Chinese word for limitation really means the joints that divide a bamboo stalk, the separate points that define the different areas of that particular bamboo stalk. In relation to a person's ordinary life, limitation means the thrift that sets fixed limits upon expenditures. So you have a particular amount that you can spend, and if you spend too much, then you go over your limits. In relation to the moral sphere or moral realm, limitation means the fixed limits that a superior person sets upon their actions. So limitations that a person sets on their actions, such as the limits of loyalty on one side of the coin and disinterestedness on the other. So attachment and detachment, helping others and also having time to help yourself. The judgment, limitation, success, galling limitation must not be persevered in. Galling means very irritating. So very irritating limitations must not be persevered in. Limitations can be troublesome, but they are effective. For if we live economically in normal times, then we're prepared for times of want when we don't have as much. To be sparing saves us from humiliation. Limitations are also indispensable in the regulation of world conditions. In nature, for example, there are fixed limits for summer and winter, day and night, and these limits give the year its meaning. In the same way, economy and thrift, by setting fixed limits upon our expenses, our expenditures, act to preserve property and prevent injury to the people. But in limitation, we must also observe due measure. For if a person should seek to impose severe and irritating limitations upon their own nature, it would cause injury. So you don't want to have so much irritating limitation upon your own nature that you're going to injure yourself. There has to be a balance. And if we should go too far in imposing limitations upon others, those other people would rebel. Therefore, it's necessary to set limits even upon limitation. The image, water over lake, the image of limitation. Thus, a superior person creates number and measure and examines the nature of virtue and correct conduct. A lake is something limited. Water is inexhaustible. A lake can contain only a definite amount of the infinite quality, a lake can contain only a definite amount of the infinite quality or quantity of water. So there's only so much water that a lake can contain, although there's an infinite amount of water. So this is a lake's peculiarity. In human life, too, an individual achieves significance by discrimination, by setting limits, essentially, and the setting of limits. Now, discrimination is not discriminating against a particular group of people, that kind of thing. We're talking about being discriminating or having discrimination. It means you have good taste. You are showing good judgment, a refinement in your taste or judgment. So clearly defining these discriminations, what concerns us here is the problem of defining these discriminations or these tastes, these limits. which are, so to speak, the backbone of morality. Unlimited possibilities aren't suited to humanity. If unlimited possibilities existed, our lives would only dissolve in the eternal, the boundless, the infinite. To become strong, a person's life needs the limitations that are ordained by duty, and these limitations need to be voluntarily accepted. An individual attains significance as a free spirit only by surrounding themselves with these limitations and by determining for themselves what their duty truly is. So just like a lake that only can contain a certain amount of water, okay, we also have to have limits, okay, and we can achieve significance by essentially setting limits and by having good judgment in terms of how far we're willing to move forward or hold back. So we have to clearly define these limits, these choices in our good judgment and our taste, our refinement of taste in terms of how much or how little. Because if we had unlimited possibilities, if they existed, then everything would dissolve into infinity, that we wouldn't be able to sustain that. We have to have limitations because we have things that we need to do for others, for ourselves, and our duty needs to be voluntarily accepted. And we attain power and significance as a free spirit when we surround ourselves by these limitations. We've determined them, we've surrounded ourselves by these limitations, and they help to foster the way in which our energy moves, the way in which our day moves, our choices, and so forth. And when we can determine for ourselves what our duty is and what our limits are, then we truly become that powerful free spirit. We don't become free as a spirit by having no limitations. We have freedom as a spirit when we define clearly for ourselves what our limitations are, and then we have a framework to which our spirit, our freedom, can be established. So two sides of the same coin describing the situation that you find yourself in or soon to find yourself in. The abysmal water indicating the importance of being like water in order to get through a dangerous situation, in order to get through difficulties and problems in your life. You continue to flow onward, and you allow goodness to be a consistent attribute of your character that's expressed rather than an isolated experience. Also important for you to determine if there's something that you've got accustomed to that is really something that is not positive, that's dangerous, that's evil, that could be let go of at this point. Important for you to reflect upon the possibility of that. And also, in moving through the danger or the difficulty, just like water that's moving in a river, the flow is particularly important, to not stay too long and stay in the danger, but to continue to move forward so that you can move out of the danger. On the other side of the coin, setting limits, limitation, but also remembering that even in setting limits, we have to set limits, because you don't want to have irritating limitation against your own nature. You want to be able to be yourself, but you don't want to enforce such extreme and irritating limits upon yourselves that you cannot have happiness and you're too austere upon yourself. So examine your own limitations and what your duty is in your life, and see if you can become more like water, pass through the danger, set limits, and also not shirk your duty to others and to yourself. Determine what your duty is, moving forward just like water. And if you're in a teaching position where you're enlightening or guiding other people, try to maintain that light, that connection with the divine within yourself, so that the attribute of goodness and steadfastness pours through you, and the pupil or the student to which you're counseling can also, through the repetition of the goodness and the character that you're exhibiting, that can amplify in their own lives as well. So as Bruce Lee encouraged us, be like water. And be sincere, and when you're confronted with problems and difficulties, and when you are sincere, you will find that guidance from your inner wisdom, from your heart, and that wisdom from your heart will penetrate to the meaning of the situation and will guide you in how to flow onward. I hope these messages will help you in your current life experience situation. I would listen to these messages again and again and see how you can apply these ideas into your own current situation. Thanks for tuning in, and take care.